Test, test. 1, 2. Test, test. Test, test. Aloha. So this is the least windiest spot that I could find. So before I start, my apologies for the gusts of wind. I'm trying to block it as much as I can, but I think you can still hear me. I wanted to just jump off the last video and really go into some of the other places that are pretty much off limits, and just kind of expand off the last video what I was talking about and take it into a more like dream space perspective and societal perspective, and then tie it all in with the parasitic perspective of the parasitic mindset, the parasite of the mind, the parasite of the body, parasites of the body, parasites of that affect your soul, and pretty much the parasites of time. So manipulating your time as an individual is an enslavement. If you enslave a soul, then you are gathering energy, soul energy. That energy can be harvested on a soul level if you have that perspective. Best be known that these occult sort of mind controllers who link all the way into the heliocentric programming understand that this is not a game on that kind of level. When I speak in reference to the I know you can still hear me anyway. When I speak in reference to the chess game, that's what I'm talking about. That's where I'm anchored at. And when I speak in reference to the checker game, it's pretty much everything that exists outside of you empowering yourself, that exists outside of you being able to speak from your soul, speak words, speak language from your soul. You know people who just speak shit out of their mouth. You know people who just talk out of their ass. You know people who just give you the most commercial version of themselves, which is the norm. That is actually, from the 360 degree perspective, you have, in each degree, you have potential parasites of each degree. And those parasites they're allowed into, through the openings that we allow open, they're allowed into our experience without us even realizing it, because we don't realize the relationship between the subconscious, which is non-physical, and the conscious reality. We don't know the relationships because that's not mainstream. It's not popular. It's not readily accepted as what is important in this society, in this reality, in your everyday thought process of who and what you are on a soul, mind, and body perspective. We don't even know any of that stuff. The ways we are kept away from this is with people like Bill Nye, who tell you literally, and this is in reference to what he speaks of in reference to the soul. He's mentioned the fact that he doesn't believe that we have a soul. We are a soul. He believes that we are basically just some kind of intelligence that is a side effect to electrical impulses that come from the fatty tissue of your brain. That's it. That's all he believes is your reality. And these are the creators of your universe, your synthetic universe. If you believe people who speak like that, then you believe a McDonald's version of humanity. You believe a McDonald's version of your spirit. You believe, at best, a McDonald's version of the psychological perspective of this reality. And if you don't go any further than that, you will limit yourself and anchor yourself even deeper into the materialistic version of reality. The more you are locked into the materialistic version of reality, the more difficult it is to make a connection with your soul, or even observe your soul perspective, in your soul perspective, in your everyday reality. Because it's like when you wake up from a dream, you're transitioning out. The more when you wake up here, the harder it is to remember your dream, because your dreams are the 360-degree perspective of you. That's why they're so kind of chaotic and all over the place, because they speak metaphorically, whereas the conscious reality speaks more like linearly. So the linear perspective, or the scientific perspective of this reality, is basically the nuts and bolts of the conscious realm. And when you are sold a play school version of the nuts and bolts of the conscious realm, not to mention it's a play school version, but it's a play school version without the instruction manual of even that play school version, which the instruction manual comes within the relationship between the conscious realm and the subconscious realm. So when you don't know anything about your dreams, you're not going to know anything about your potentials in the conscious reality. You're not going to maximize one without the other. This is the nuts and bolts of the duality experience. You can't have one without the other. Like we were speaking in a live chat last night, talking about the relationship between positive and negative, yin yang, destructive and creative intelligence. In order to create the most solid foundations, you have to destroy the old foundations that do not benefit you, and in fact are weighing you down from moving forward. So if you do not destroy the parasite or the remaining pieces of the virus that are inlaid within the foundations of this experience, the conscious experience, it will affect the way you can interact within this reality and interact within your subconscious reality. Everything is affected by everything. Every thought, every action, every breath, every heartbeat. When you slow it down outside of time and you really come to that centered space, then you're tapping into the allness that is your existence. It's outside of time, literally. It's understanding, understanding, and overstanding the relationship between your dreams and your conscious reality. When you're locked into one version, the linear, the patriarchal program, the destroy, the dominate, the control, and then expand that even further, you have some people who only want to dominate. That's their like fetish. Then you have people who want to control. That's their fetish, whether they know it or not. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism. Sometimes people want to dominate people to control. Sometimes people want to control people to dominate them. And this goes into the energy hoarding of manipulating consciousness, manipulating time. If you are in a constant state of fear and destruction and separation and lack of understanding and ignorance and destructive behavior, you will not be allowed to create anything. You will not be allowed to activate the polar opposite of that which is the destructive intelligence of this reality. You will not. That is the definition of empowerment. You won't be able to tap into that to get out of those locked in off limits realities, because you're fearful of facing your demons. You're fearful of facing that parasite. And if you cannot face the parasites or the demons of your conscious reality, your waking state, you're sure as hell not going to be able to face anything in your subconscious realm, and vice versa. It works both ways. So when people are even scared to speak in reference to, like, in my early videos, it was difficult to speak about a lot of the topics that I was talking about, that I speak about regularly right now, because I hadn't gone to the depths of understanding the compassionate origin of a lot of these topics. So when you are not locking it into a space of understanding along with the overstanding, it's unstable. It's a broken foundation. And that foundation, that's what I was talking about earlier, that's the foundation to your creative expansion. You will not be able to create a creative expansion if you only have an understanding of your reality. The only way you can anchor yourself and maximize the not only compassionate perspective of your reality, but everything that vibes on those high vibes of observing your reality, until you get into that space, that's going into the understanding and overstanding of what's really going on. So if you just have a basic understanding, which is like an A plus for the norm reality, a basic understanding of, you know, like politics that is garbage, and you know, that's like the norm, or whatever it is, whatever somebody considers to be the norm. You have all these different versions of the norm, and depending on what you're comfortable with, you'll fit inside that box. And each time you expand yourself, you're expanding your boxes. So an understanding, which is could be relative to like the public education system, it's not for your benefit. It's not to give you what you need to challenge the authority that keeps you enslaved. It's not even a space of giving you the ability to exist comfortably as a sovereign being. You have to, your food, your water, your shelter is all filtered through an enslavement system, the taxation system, the virus parasitic system. When you look around at the gentrification of this reality, you're looking our cities, you're looking around at a parasite. And this is not to get into the whole race agenda and all that other shit. That's checkers, that's busy work. That's still, if you're still, and I say in pretty much every video, it's not to say that race doesn't matter. It matters in some kind of way, but to stay on point with this, I'm going to focus on the fact that there is a storyline that is bigger than, for example, racism. There's a storyline that is bigger than flat earth. Many intelligent people who speak even in reference to flat earth know this. If there is a bigger story, and we're already cast into the depths of crazy town when you even speak on flat earth, why not keep pushing that storyline to be understood to the depths of the human experience? The enslavement at the heart of flat earth is a complete deception of conscious beings interpreting their reality on a soul, mind, and body perspective. If that is a known, if that is understood, then you can understand that that is only one chapter to the remaining chapters of the enslavement of an individual and a collective on the soul, the mind, and the body. If that is allowed to continue on without being checked, without being spoken on, without being expanded upon, that system of destruction will continue to expand and continue to evolve based upon the spaces that are allowed to exist, and people not activating their creative intelligence and their creative balances and expansions that outweigh this parasite that is pretty much running full throttle. When you have people not even willing to question their reality, when you have people not even willing to think outside of the box, not even willing to people not even willing to like entertain a question of their reality because it's too difficult to change a thought. Like, it's easy to not do something in action. It's easy to not kick a puppy. But to change your thoughts is very difficult for a lot of people. Because your thoughts go into the very nature of who you think you are, who other people think you are, in the materialistic version of reality. Because your subconscious is everything that you are in every moment. So when we do not tap into everything that we are in every moment, then you will only subject yourself to everything you think you are in every piece of a moment. So you're only half living at best. You're only half living in a half world, because the entire collective is doing the same thing. This is what happens when your entire experience is off limits, even from your damn thoughts. You can't even think outside of what is mainstream. You can't think outside of what is popular. It's not allowed. If you even think like that, you will be prosecuted. You will be persecuted. You will be taken out, destroyed, if you help other people think about that stuff. The same things will happen. If that is not an enslavement, I don't know what is. Speaking on a live chat last night, listening to an individual whose name is literally rhetoric. That's what this system is. It's not about truth, understanding, and overstanding. It's not about getting to the heart of the bigger pictures. It's about talking forever about kind of something. Anytime you are speaking from a space of illusion, if you're speaking in the materialistic realm of reality, if you're speaking in reference to the idea of yourself, you kind of living, you're kind of speaking, you're kind of alive, kind of reality is what's happening. And there's nothing you can do about it if you think there's nothing you can do about it. But the only way you're going to be able to get out of that is if you see that, first of all, something needs to be done. That's why I kind of jump all over the place and people can't really see a lot of the times where I'm coming from when I'm speaking from a zoomed in perspective and then a zoomed out perspective. I'm going in and out of observing this reality from an individual perspective, my own experience, as much of a collective perspective as I can get, as much of a family, cultural perspective as I can get, as much of a human perspective as I can get, as much of a brother, sister, aunt, uncle, cousins, brothers, sisters, like everybody. Because that's how you can really kind of break down time and observe not only the reality that is off limits, but the reality that is beyond the limits. Breaking down your perspective from foundations that are not attached to who you think you are. Like speaking from a space of just speaking and sounding intelligent, speaking from a foundation of arrogance, speaking from a foundation of just pettiness. That is like the formal, that's the master of the parasitic perspective. You thinking that you know everything. It's the opposite of knowing that you know nothing. And that's very dangerous to be in that space, because especially if you have influence over people. to just not know that you don't know, and to, you know, tell people, no, this is how it is, and you're just fucking crazy for thinking any other way. You're crazy for thinking any other way. When you start to expand into the perspectives that exist outside of the idea of time and the idea of yourself, that's when you start to expand time and the idea of yourself till you actually get to that space of silence, which is the space between waking up in the morning, being in a dream and waking up in the morning, the space between seconds, the space between milliseconds, the space between forever. So it's the infinite space between, because the external reality, the conscious reality, is the infinite space of this density. It will just continue to expand within the laws of this experience, which is the physical reality. So there are laws here. Theories based upon artificial laws will control and manipulate time through the consciousness of the people who believe those theories to be true, believe those theories to be law. You are believing yourself into parasitism. You're believing yourself into a synthetic universe. This is what heliocentrism is. This is why flat earth is such a threat to not only the heliocentric programming, but literally everything that this system is built on, this synthetic system is built upon. All of the fiat currency system, the maritime admiralty system, the legal name programming, the DMV, the public education system, the university system, the politics, the wars, the destruction of nature, the destruction of the psyche of humanity, the destruction of your body through all the food, the fluoridated water, fluoridated minds, fluoridated babies, poison food, all of this stuff is a light is shown upon all of these topics once you start to question the individuals who have decided what your universe is for you. Once you start to question the credibility of the individuals who are the mouthpieces of the haves program, who are heads of state of the materialistic programming. MTV, VH1, politics, Republicans, Democrats, distractions, controlled oppositions, economic hitmen, the economic hit states. All of these programs are intertwined within the belief system of believing that the individuals who create or were the so-called forefathers of this so-called new world have any connection to humanity or relationship with nature. This is how it's all tied in. It's all tied in when you remove the limitations to observe how limited we've become, how we've been locked into ideas of ourselves ever since we forgot our connections and our relationships, our connections to nature and our relationships with each other on a soul, mind, and body level. Seeing that from that perspective is a way to get out of the whole bad guy programming at least for an observation. Like, let that shit go for a moment. That is your meditative moment. You don't have to go into a deep home space and be all, into that zone. These are meditations, are tools. These are all tools. You can utilize these tools whenever. You can mix those tools in between breaths. You can mix those tools in between thoughts. Meditation is just the ability to go into that space outside of time. When you're sitting outside of time, you're sitting outside of yourself. You're sitting inside. If you're sitting outside of yourself, truly, that means you're sitting inside of everything that is not perceived to be yourself, which is your body, your physical body. That is tapping into the allness of this this experience, this existence, this platform that gives you the ability to observe and question your reality. There's a science there, there's an alchemy there that allows you to question and expand upon that platform. The Big Bang, gravity, relativity theory, these all theories of the Big Bang, all of these theories are false platforms for your psyche, false platforms for your entire idea of yourself, so that the idea of yourself actually becomes yourself. So there have been more and more mechanisms that maintain the ideas of ourselves. Those perspectives are actually starting to outweigh in many people, and even in myself when I was in that space, because you can get out of it, starting to outweigh your dreams. For a lighter example of what the not limitation you is. So your dreams, the relationship, the place where you can fly in your dreams. Literally, you can fly when you remember your dreams. When you're awake, you can fly playing music. You can fly playing sports. You can fly writing. You can fly singing. You can fly whatever it is. You have the ability to fly. These are these zones that you have access to when you are not limited to the off-limits perspective. So allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to remember your dreams, learn from your dreams, expand yourself within those dreams. This is what I was saying. That it's an actual proof. It started out as my observation, but when I learned to explain what it actually is, it's a proof of our reality. When you pay more attention to your dreams, it's not like I discovered this or anything, it's just an observation. I'm sure other people have spoken on this in many other ways. But from my observation of my dreams and the importance of dreams, when you dream, when you face your demons, when you face those parasites, and I'm speaking from an experience, an actual dream that I remember. I faced a parasite, and I've wrote this down, or I've recorded this in a video previously, one of my dream videos. I can't remember what it was. I faced a being that was like 14 feet tall or something like that. This being looked like a giant, tall, gray alien. But I didn't have no names for, in the dream, this was just a being. And the only reference I had to what that being was a parasite. This parasite, it's like a leech. So this parasite was trying to control me through like telepathic fear, something like that. Like images of fear, images of death, images of just garbage, something that's gonna take your power away. all of these images. And when I was bombarded by all those images, I was actually lucid in that dream, and I was able to understand what this parasite was doing and how it was doing it. So that's when, if you can see the layers, I could have just seen that as a nightmare and then popped out of that because I was scared. But when you decide to face it, you go deeper into the dream. So this is like going from nightmares to challenges. This is what I break down in other videos. In order to get into the dreams that challenge you, you have to first expand upon your emotional body, which is the ability to face your nightmares. And the way that you can face your nightmares is to understand who and what you are. When you know who and what you are to the umpteenth degree, then you will never be able to lose yourself, no matter where you are, who or where you are. And I say who because in your dreams you can be all kinds of different things, and that's another way to test you, to know who you really are. So when you are in your dreams as something else or as some kind of experience, you don't know what's going on, but you are forever you, that core nature that is you, that is your ability to face your dreams, ability to face your demons, the ability to face these parasites in the conscious and the subconscious reality. So when you face those challenges within those dreams, because first you can that's why I said there's steps to this process. First you have to face your fears, your challenges, your ability to change, and that's when you find out a deeper layer of who and what you are. Once you face all those spaces, then you will never be limited to whatever the dream world throws at you, because you're centered within yourself. So when you expand upon all of those abilities within your dreams, and mind you, this is not just for your dreams, this is for your waking state too. This is how this works. It's both. It's in both sides, the positive and the negative, the masculine and the feminine, the subconscious and the conscious, the yin, the yang. So the expansion of facing all of those nightmares and facing all of those frequencies that vibe in dreams like nightmares, when you expand into those spaces, you are literally expanding the shockwave of not only who and what you are, but who and what the entire experience is. Because every time you meet somebody after you have expanded, every time you make a connection, every time you talk to somebody, every time you produce a piece of art, it will be reflective of all of the expansions that you went through. And when you are locked into fear and you're locked into this idea of what reality is based upon forefathers, so-called powers that be, and all this other nonsense that is within this reality, this synthetic reality, you won't be able to expand. You won't be able to question the artificial authority of the experience itself. You won't be able to challenge yourself. You won't be able to challenge the dream. That is when you're locked into limbo. You're locked into a zombification of your reality. You're neither dead nor alive. You're a zombie. That's the definition of a zombie. To think that you're alive and to be afraid of death is to neither be alive nor dead, or in an understanding of what death really is. It's the undead. So when you're locked into television, when you're locked into social media, all the artificial mechanisms, the genetically modified versions of your reality, you're literally worshiping the cult of the undead. The cult of heliocentrism is the cult of the undead. These undead planets, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Venus, Mercury, all of these energy light bodies that our ancestors were tapped into have been demonized, just like the indigenous and the aboriginal people were. And in that demonization, you separate yourself from the activations of who and what you are and who and what you were before you are the person that you are now. Because it's a constant expansion. The last contracted place you are at, which is the contracted contract, consciousness, conscious reality. So the subconsciousness, the subcontracts of your contract. The subcontracts are the everything that make up your actual contract. The consciousness contract is based upon, the conscious realm contract is based upon how many other contracts, experiences, conscious realities, materialistic realms of realities based upon limitations to expand upon those limitations outside of those limitations out of the experience overall, through the experience, to expand out of the experience through the experience. That is never dying. That is to never die, because you are actually alive wherever you are. If you do not remember your dreams, you are not alive to the umpteenth degree of which you can be alive, because you are missing out on a huge part of yourself. You're missing out on a huge part of your mechanisms of expansion. This is why psychedelics are criminalized. This is why cannabis is criminalized. This is why alcohol is legal, cigarettes are legal, because they take away from that expansion. They take away from your time, your ability. Cancer from cigarettes, cancer from alcohol. It takes away your ability, your time to expand in the long run, not just limited to this experience right now. If you are eating a vegetarian for your entire life, and in one reality you're a meat eater, so for example purposes, you're subjected to way more, because it's more complex than this, but for an example purposes, if you're subjecting yourself to the genetically modified version of reality, let's say for example purposes that you will live to be 80 years old or 70 years old. If you were to take care of yourself, you could live to be 100 years old. To maximize it even further, if you bought into the materialistic version of reality, everything that's sold to you commercially, a better example would be like you live to 60, when you could potentially live to 80. When each moment, or 100, when each moment, each thought is an energy like pebble in your ability to expand. So anytime somebody steals your time, your seconds, your minutes, your hours, your moments, they're taking pebbles out of your ability to expand. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to limit yourself to what other people think of you. When you are sitting in your space, you don't do that. When you are sitting in the moment for what it is, you don't do that. That's what happens when you're in a dream. If you are not doing that, if you're not doing that in a dream, that's what takes you out of yourself in dreams, and you just sidestep your reality, like I was saying in the last off limits video. You sidestep your reality, you're sidestepping your ability to expand, because every time you sidestep, that's the linear contract. But when you expand, you're writing new contracts. That's a good example of expansion. When you expand in your dreams, you're writing new contracts. So you expand your subcontracts, which is your subconscious everything, your 360-degree observation of this reality, existence in this reality of this perspective. When you expand those, you're not signing contracts, you're making new contracts from higher levels of consciousness, from higher vibrations, from higher frequencies. So this is why it's so important to dream. This is why it's so important to breathe. It's so important to challenge authority. It's so important to release the densities of who you think you are, or what other people think of you. Release all of this mind control programming, and start your dream again. Start to expand yourself. Start to, like I said, in your dreams, when you're facing challenges and expanding your dreams, your subconscious reality, your 360 degree of yourself, you are writing new, more powerful, energetic contracts in your conscious reality. Each thought is a contract. Each moment, each time, each relationship, each time you meet somebody, that's not on a mistake. It's not just, everything happens on a higher vibration before it goes down to the lower vibrations. So this goes into the lower vibrations have to adjust to the higher vibrations. That's an actual law of frequency. The lower vibes in cymatics will adjust to the higher frequencies. They will get consumed by the higher frequencies. So when you're in your dream space, you're in your highest frequency. That's everything. That's why you can dream about other lives. You can dream about flying. You can dream about everything outside of limitation from your perspective, if you tune into it. This is what lucid dreams are. This is what, not only lucid dreams, but it gets into a deeper relationship when you lucid dream, as opposed to just remembering a dream. So yeah, the more we tap into ourselves, the more we'll be able to get a grasp on reality, get from underneath the boot of illusionists, get from underneath the boot of ourselves, fighting ourselves, get from underneath the boot of these perspectives that don't benefit us. They don't benefit the individual, and they don't benefit the collective. This is what happens when you see all of this homelessness and not addressing things, like I was saying in the last video. When it's not only about not addressing things of authority, but not being able to. He's been. Is that your puppy?
No.
He's been going around with all the other dogs around here. Just.
Yeah, I know. The owner's looking for him now.
Oh.
I had him for a minute, but he escaped.
He came up to me.
If you see him, hold him.
I'll hold him if he come back. So in order to maintain the entire system, the haves will release various experiences or tools or mechanisms to quiet down and play, to keep everybody in the checker game, while the chess game continues to expand into the future. The next experience is for us to create more complex ideas of ourselves. So more complex synthetic ideas of ourselves is the artificial expansion of consciousness. This is what is at the infrastructure of the new age. This is what is at the infrastructure of keeping people in balance and making money or energy off of that. This is what is at the infrastructure of the destructive intelligence creating a synthetic universe in and around the balances of the creative and the destructive intelligence universe, the balances of this experience as a whole. Dreams are very important, extremely important. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much all I had for this video. I wanted to go into more about how this experience threatens our reality, but I'll save that or how flat earth and challenging your experience threatens this reality. Challenging authority threatens the infrastructure of the reality as a whole. But I think I want to get that down as to like some key solid points. So I'm like, okay, so we can see all of these linear contracts. Once you see all those linear contracts, they're seen for what they are, and they're no more contracts anymore. They're not contracts anymore. There are now pebbles in your expansion of your awareness. So each time you see a contract for what it really is, you see a moment. So an example of that is to see a moment for what it really is. To see yourself for who you really are. To see yourself for who you used to be. To see yourself in who you want to be. To see yourself constantly expand. Or are you going to constantly subject yourself to a low vibrating, neutral, undead version of life? Writing contract after contract through fear. Writing contract after contract through ignorance. Through destruction. So I'll leave it there. That's pretty much all I had for this video. It's gone on long enough. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for the support, people leaving comments, sharing, liking the video, everything. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.